A reality of life is that in some way personal conflict will be a constant. It might be something on a small scale, like conflict about which rugby team or AFL team to support, or something on a larger scale, like the direction that a business or organisation should go. Whatever the conflict though, we cannot escape it, nor should we try to. There is arguably a greater potential for personal conflict within a ministry team. Taking into account the general differences and backgrounds of all the people on the team in of itself is enough to create conflict. But when you throw into the mix people's different interpretations of scripture, the belief that what somebody has heard from God is absolute and correct, and the simple fact that in a ministry team situation, the majority of the people will most likely view where the ministry should be headed through their own lens, the potential for conflict arises, and if not dealt with effectively, could lead to the end of the team. If the conflict isn't dealt with correctly, the ministry becomes more about man and his desires than it does about God and his ultimate glory. The most important thing for any team, including a ministry team, is to facilitate and create a culture and team environment in which all of the team players have the freedom and they feel comfortable enough to engage in a process of civilized disagreement, which ultimately leads to an effective solution and increased unity and community within the team. Shying away from conflict will ultimately lead to a false sense of peace. Both parties will move forward, one feeling content as their opinion was heard and they got to offer their perspective, and the other sitting there with agreement on their face and disagreement in their heart. Over time, this false peace will cease to be enough, and greater, more devastating conflicts could potentially ensue. A team environment in which civilized disagreement exists, leading to a resolution of personal conflict, should be a constructive, amicable, focused, and effective one. In a ministry team situation, it might look like a disagreement with two members of the pastoral staff about the planning of two separate events. They both want to plan something on the same day, but personal conflict arises when they want to use the same venue, the church. If they are to be constructive in their approach to resolving this personal conflict, it means that in all that they do and say to each other, at all times, they are building towards a solution, and not building to tear each other down. For them to be amicable, they should be pleasant in their conversation. It's a disagreement, not an argument. All of their discussion should be focused on the issue of the conflict. It's so easy in times of personal conflict to begin attacking everything that you don't like about the other person, even when it might not be relevant to the issue at hand. Focused discussion about the relevant issue and only the relevant issue is key. Their disagreement also needs to be an effective one. If their personal conflict has arisen out of a dislike for the other, and they find themselves in a position arguing simply for the sake of arguing, nothing effective is going to come of it. In a biblical sense, there'll be no fruit from their disagreement. If they can disagree civilly and reach a solution to their conflict, then all that has just taken place is effective and should ultimately lead to a more effective ministry team. The constructive, amicable, focused, and effective solution to this potential ministry team conflict could look like this. In a civilized manner, both members of the pastoral staff discuss and outline completely their perspective and points of view. Both parties hear the other out completely. At all times, they are working towards a solution for both of their respective problems. Discussing in an authoritative yet pleasant manner, they don't argue their points but present them to the other. Throughout the discussion, they remain focused on the relevant issue, not bringing in their personal feelings or attitudes towards the other, and reach the effective solution that one of them will hold their event in the upper hall and the other will hold their event in the lower hall. As a result of their open discussion, they both agree to split the cost of a joint morning tea 50-50 out of their respective budgets for the year. Both events go ahead as planned, and both pastors move forward from their discussion and their personal conflict, seeing fruit and a joint unity and community within the team.